Hello everyone, today I'm going to share with you the ancient wisdom that I apply practically to every day of my life. Hello everyone, we talk about ancient wisdom all the time, things going back 5 up to 12,000 years for some of the Indian texts we talk about during this video series. And whilst it's very easy to dismiss this stuff and say these individuals were dealing with different issues than we do today, the reality is they weren't. They were human beings trying to understand how to make their way through a very, very difficult world with lots of social interactions and death and disease and happiness and love. So what do I use daily and what are the practical applications? So as always, I'm going to begin with a quote on the subject, and that quote is, "In my research, I have found that the human species identified the answers to life's big questions very early. Love, community, action, purpose, and eternity were all solved around the time of the big three, Jesus, Buddha, and Lao Tzu, around 2,500 years ago. However, with the advent of modern consumer economy, where profits are put before people, this knowledge has been hidden, its meaning corrupted, and its values diminished. It seems if our answers on the big questions don't come from a sponsored tweet by Kim Kardashian or other celebrities, we're not that interested. A shame really, because the rules to a good life are so close, yet seemingly so inconvenient and incompatible with the recent de-evolution of people into consumers and GDP statistics." A quote that I've come up with. So it's true, we live in a new world, and this new world has some rules. Now those rules don't have to apply to you unless you apply them to yourselves, but the good life and the life of happiness and love and connection is right there, and the information's always been there. Sometimes it's more about deleting the irrelevant information like we talked about in the tweets in that quote, and more about just embracing the universal truths. And from a personal perspective, the modern solutions don't work. These ideas of buying an audio cassette tape or, reading a book that will change your life that's based on, success and, making it and goals and goal setting, it just didn't work for me. I don't know about you, but I followed the processes and there was no happiness there. Just putting a picture of my dream house on my wall didn't make me happier. It made me more aware that I didn't have my dream house and made me more focused on things I didn't have. It just wasn't working. It's one of the reasons I really wanted to go back and look at the text. Before there was, all the modern age sort of success, Dale Carnegie stuff. What was before that? What happened? How did we talk when we put humans first and not profits first? Well, we talked in a different way. So I'm going to go through the way I see the universe and how the ancient texts help me every single day. And the first way is the Tao. So the Tao, which is the concept of the way things are. I like the word the Tao because, and I use it regularly, because as a Westerner, we don't really understand the meaning. And words, unfortunately, can really pigeonhole you. So when you don't really know the meaning of something, it helps you see it as a bigger picture and not define it to a little context. So whenever anything happens to me, and a situation unfolds, that's simply what it is. There is no more to it than the unfolding of reality. I'm here to witness the unfolding of reality and make a conscious choice about it. I'm not here to blame it. I'm not here to say I wish things were different, or I think this could be better, or why is this happening to me? Because it's the unfolding of the Tao. It is simply the unfolding of the script. You don't sit there in a watching a movie. Well, at least I hope you don't sit there in a movie saying, looking at the other one, why is this happening? I wish this was different. I can't believe that actor did that. Oh, I'm so angry. Those sort of people, you'd think are crazy. And your life really is like a movie that unfolds in front of you. And as you make better, more conscious decisions on the way things are, not better than they are, not worse than they are, you'll find the right path. Number 2, Downstreams. So this is another 2,500-year-old concept that I've found remarkable. So what Downstreams are, if you think about water and how if you were to, pour some water over some rocks, you'd notice how the water never heads in a straight line. It takes many, many, many different streams until it ultimately finds the water source it's looking for. And this is what life's all about. In every moment of unfolding opportunity, there's decisions you can make, conscious choices you can make. When you make choices from love, compassion, and understanding, you take a certain course. When you make choices out of hatred and anger and scarcity, you take another course of action. We all know that if we said something different or acted a bit kinder, things would be very different than they are now. So what's happening is the stream is what you're following. Interestingly, quantum mechanics has looked at the reality or the multiple realities that are created by decisions. Some theorists say that every single decision creates a whole new reality. This is physics. And I think it's really true. I know them as Downstream. So when you make a decision, and it's a good decision, the path it takes you on will just require more decisions that are about what's good for you, and you'll find the right path eventually. Number 3, mindfulness. So this is a concept that seems incredibly simple, but we just don't know how to do it anymore. In this moment, there is a quality to this moment, a beauty to this moment, whether it's simply the quality of the light, the texture of the shirt you're wearing, the fact that your skin is it has hair on it that can tell the difference and breeze. There's an extraordinary quality at every moment, but we're not mindful, we're not aware. So we look and get distracted, and we're looking for something, for example, looking for some excitement or some fun or a partner or someone to talk to or someone to text or a new newsfeed article that we can read. And simply, the treasure's already there. If you ever read The Alchemist, which I'd definitely recommend, it's simply in front of you right now. And mindfulness brings you right back to the present and the quality of the present. If you're feeling lonely or distressed or hurt, mindfulness is a great tool to come straight back to where the quality is in this current moment. Number 4, Stoic virtue. Ancient Greece and Rome really got this right. We're talking about a time when life was difficult. The Greeks were constantly at war, the Romans were constantly at war, and they needed to understand with all this death and destruction what was happening. And Stoicism was really, really simple. It looked at the way things were and said, listen, if you're anxious and nothing is happening to you right now to create anxiety, it is mind-made. And if it's mind-made, it can be overcome. And when you overcome by living a virtuous life or a good life, you have nothing to worry about until it happens. So it was very much about being in the present. Stoicism was all about, listen, don't worry about things that aren't here yet. And that was a great way of getting the West into mindfulness. Meditation. So the Vedas first talked about meditation and breathing, yoga, and this is at least 14,000 years old. It's incredible to think that the Vedic culture, which was a verbal culture, could be that old. But yeah, 14,000 years old, and humans had found ways to calm what's called that parasympathetic system. We need, as human beings, to be balanced. We need to have some sort of, getting out there and get things done, but we also need rest and relaxation and to come from a calm place. And meditation was shown to be the most effective way to do that. I do that every single day, practice it every day, and I see my mind's changing. I see myself not react to things I would have reacted to before my meditation. Compassion, 750,000 years old. So early humans and the success of the Homo sapiens, our species, against the other hominid and human species. We had other humans. A million years ago, there were other humans cruising around who weren't us. So why did we survive? Because they had big brains and could use tools as well. Well, humans have developed compassion. That is the ability to put themselves in someone else's shoes and to do the right thing for them. And this served us greatly. Where you had tribes being wiped out by ice ages and volcanoes, humans' ability to share clothes, share shelter, share resources, and create loving family environments, that compassion is what makes us human. And when we lose compassion, we become less than human. And we all know what happens when we lose compassion. We become monsters. Whether it's the Holocaust or whether it's the generals sending 18-year-old kids into trench warfare to get murdered, we lose our connection with what it means to be human, and we become something less than human. Non-judgment. He who has never sinned, cast the first stone. I think about Jesus when he said that. The old story from the Bible where I think it was an adulterer that they were going to stone. They were going to, which was a classic, moronic thing to do, is to pick up stones and smack people out and kill them. And it was called stoning to death. And Jesus was in a situation where an adulterer, someone who had cheated on their husband, was there, and people were ready to stone her. Jesus walked by, he's a bit of a sticky beak, he wants to know what's going on here. And they said, well, we're about to stone this lady. He goes, oh, sure, I'm not going to judge what you're about to do. But what I would suggest is that he who is without sin throw the first stone. How powerful is that? Because in order to judge, you must judge yourself. And if you are perfect, then ultimately you can throw a stone. Obviously no one in that group was perfect, especially if they're thinking about throwing a stone to kill an innocent chick. So non-judgment is a great place to come from. It saves you so much stress. Everyone's doing the best they can with what they've got in this current moment based on how they feel. Let's cut them a break, because the less you judge, the less self-criticism you internally direct. Sex and gender roles, 2500 BC, the Kama Sutra. Women and men are different. No matter how many hashtag equalities or whatever what we're trying to do to create this amorphous blob of humanity, it's not going to work. Women create, shine a light, bring divine value, connection, source, love, nurturing to the planet. Men bring linear power, straight line, directive, logic, thought, break through boundaries, conquest, and in some cases destruction. These things balance each other. And what I see around me right now is a lot, I don't know a functional relationship, and ultimately it's because there's no roles being played. We're all expecting each other to do everything when it's not our qualities. And the Kama Sutra is beautiful. It's treating women with respect, treating men with respect at the same time, but knowing that once one tries to manipulate the other, you lose the dynamic and everyone's unhappy. The minute men and women start appreciating each other for the differences they bring to the world, the minute harmony will reign in sexual relations. Spontaneous action and trust, 700 AD Zen. So as Buddhism came up through India, and it caught on like wildfire, because people were like, this makes sense. It went into China. Now China was an established empire, so it already had Taoism at the time. When Buddhism and Taoism collided, Zen was created. And Zen has a context of spontaneous action, which is trust. Trusting your true nature, knowing that as a human being you're going to act. And the situations won't always be perfect, but overthinking never leads to great action. Spontaneous action out of love and compassion always works. And we know this. There's things called flow states. Scientists like to, claim all this stuff now and call it flow states instead of spontaneous action, because Zen worked it out 1500 years before we had science. However, flow states coming from the right place at the right time is all that matters. Backwards rationalizing what you do is simply more anxiety. And finally, the American Indians, 500 AD, I believe it was the Apaches, had the concept of the white wolf and the black wolf. And the white wolf considered love and compassion, the black wolf was all that was bad, evil and hatred. And everyone had two wolves with them at all times. They had a black wolf and a white wolf. And when the children would ask, well, which wolf wins in the end? The answer from the shamans would be, whatever wolf you feed. Feed your life with compassion and strength and love, and you'll find that the white wolf is the dominant wolf. Alternatively, if you show bitterness, hatred and judgment, the black wolf will reign. These ancient concepts are so powerful. They are archetypes. They were as important 1 million years ago to humanity as they are today. They have been hidden, and new age stuff of The Secret and becoming successful millionaire seems to be the rage at the moment. But ask yourself, does that work, and are those individuals happy behind the scenes? And if they're not, it might be time to look at this ancient text. Something to think about. I can't wait to see you till tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.